The clock is ticking, and honestly, the world is holding its breath. It's not every day you see a social media post that could literally flip the global economy or start a blackout for an entire nation. Just a few hours ago, the president posted 4 words that sent shockwaves from Wall Street to the Middle East. Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. No context, no long-winded explanation, just a hard deadline. I've been watching this game of high-stakes poker play out, and if you think this is just a random delay, you're missing the bigger picture. This is ultimatum diplomacy in its purest, most aggressive form. By pushing the deadline back to Tuesday night, the administration isn't showing weakness. They're turning up the heat until the pipes burst. We were supposed to see action on Monday. The threats were already on the table. The total destruction of power grids, bridges, and infrastructure if the Strait of Hormuz isn't pried open. But then, at the 11th hour, the goalposts moved. Why? Because the most effective threat isn't the one you carry out. It's the one that's about to happen. By giving them those extra 24 hours, the White House has created a psychological pressure cooker. They've given the other side just enough time to realize exactly what they stand to lose, while keeping the entire world's eyes glued to the clock. Behind the scenes, the phone lines are likely glowing red. This extension to Tuesday at 8 p.m. is the ultimate last chance saloon. It's a calculated move to see who blinks first when the shadow of total economic and structural collapse is looming right over their shoulder. You have to understand the sheer scale of what's being threatened here. This isn't just about a few tactical strikes. We're talking about power plant day and bridge day all rolled into one. The warning is blunt. If the Strait of Hormuz isn't fully open by that 8 p.m. cutoff, the very skeleton of Iran's modern world, their electricity and their ability to move across their own country, could be wiped out in a single night. I've been tracking the shifting deadlines, and it's like watching a high-speed chase where the driver keeps checking his watch. First it was 48 hours, then it was 5 days, then 10. Now we're at this Tuesday night finale. To the outside world, it might look like hesitation, but if you look at the interviews from this weekend, the tone has shifted from maybe to inevitable. The president isn't hiding behind diplomatic jargon anymore. He's telling the Wall Street Journal that Iran will take 20 years to rebuild if they're lucky. And that's if they even have a country left to rebuild. He's essentially holding the entire nation's grid hostage to get those oil tankers moving. But here's the twist. While the public posts are full of fire and fury, there's a second track running in the background. In his phone calls with Fox and Axios, there was a strange flicker of optimism. He mentioned there's a good chance for a deal on Monday. It's the ultimate good cop, bad cop routine, played by the same person. He's offering them a seat at the table with one hand, while the other hand is hovering over a button that could send an entire region back to the Dark Ages. The question everyone is asking is, are the negotiators in Oman and Pakistan actually making progress, or is this 24-hour extension just the final bit of silence before the storm? Now here is where it gets really intense. We aren't just talking about a deadline anymore. We're talking about a specific, terrifying name for what happens if that clock hits zero. The administration is calling it Power Plant Day and Bridge Day. Think about that. In one single night, a nation's entire ability to function, its lights, its internet, its hospitals, its very movement could be erased. I was looking at the president's recent posts, and the language has taken a dark, almost cinematic turn. He's not talking like a diplomat. He's talking like a man who has already seen the mission plans. He told the Wall Street Journal that if this Tuesday 8 p.m. deadline passes without the Strait of Hormuz opening, there won't be a single bridge left standing. He even warned that the country would take 20 years to rebuild, if they even have a country left at all. But why the delay? Why move it from Monday to Tuesday? Well, there's a massive piece of the puzzle that just clicked into place. The rescue of the downed American F-15 airmen. For days, the U.S. was racing against time to pull one of its own out of the Iranian mountains. Now that he's safe, the gloves-off moment has arrived. The leverage Iran had by holding a potential prisoner of war is gone. This Tuesday night deadline is the final filter. It's designed to separate the hardliners in Tehran from those who actually want to keep their lights on. The president even mentioned giving the negotiators immunity from death if they make a deal. It's the ultimate ultimatum, a 24-hour window to choose between a seat at the table or a total return to the Stone Age. If you look closely at the timing, Tuesday at 8:00 p.m. isn't just a random number pulled out of a hat. It's prime time. It's when the eyes of the entire world are most focused on their screens. By setting the clock for that specific moment, the administration is ensuring that if the fireworks start, every world leader, every CEO, and every citizen is watching the fallout in real time. What's fascinating to me is how the president is using his own platform to bypass the traditional media. He isn't waiting for a press secretary to give a briefing. He's dropping these deadlines directly to the public. It creates this sense of live history. He mentioned in a recent interview that he actually wants a deal. He said there's a good chance we could see a breakthrough on Monday or early Tuesday, but that's the trap. By dangling the hope of peace so close to the threat of total destruction, he's forcing the other side into a corner where they have to make a choice. And let's be real about what's at stake for us at home. This isn't just a foreign problem. If that deadline passes and the strikes begin, the global oil market is going to lose its mind. We're talking about the potential for gas prices to skyrocket overnight. The president knows this, which is why he's framing this as a last chance for Iran to do the right thing for the global economy. He's basically told them, I've given you the extensions, I've given you the warnings, I've even pulled my pilot out of your backyard. Now the ball is entirely in your court. It's the ultimate psychological warfare. He's making it so that if things go south on Tuesday night, the entire world will point the finger at Tehran, not Washington. As we edge closer to that Tuesday night cutoff, the movement of military assets is becoming impossible to ignore. This isn't just a war of words anymore. The hardware is in place. Intelligence reports are surfacing that suggest stealth assets and precision strike teams are already staged. The message is clear, the target list is finished, the coordinates are locked, and the only thing missing is the go order. I keep thinking about that phrase the president used, that he's giving them a window of opportunity. But in reality, it feels more like a closing door. By dragging this out until 8:00 p.m. Tuesday, he's forcing the Iranian leadership to sit in the dark and imagine the sound of those incoming jets. It's a specialized kind of torture, making your opponent wait for the blow they know is coming. There's also the ripple effect across the region to consider. Every other player, from Israel to Saudi Arabia, is watching this deadline like a hawk. If the U.S. follows through and dismantles the Iranian grid, the entire power balance of the Middle East shifts in an instant. The president mentioned that other countries are waiting to see how this plays out, hinting that this isn't just about one strait or one pilot. It's about reestablishing who actually calls the shots on the global stage. The atmosphere in Washington right now is described as quietly intense. There are no more leaks, no more long-winded debates, just the steady ticking of the clock. It feels like we are standing on the edge of a new era of ultimatum diplomacy, where a single post and a hard deadline can do more than a decade of traditional sanctions ever could. We are about to find out if the threat of Bridge Day is enough to break the stalemate, or if Tuesday night becomes the start of a conflict that changes everything. But here's the kicker that no one is talking about. The Tuesday 8:00 p.m. deadline isn't just a threat to Iran. It's a message to the rest of the world that the old rules of engagement are dead. In the past, these kinds of disputes would drag on in the UN for months, buried under layers of red tape and deep concerns. Not anymore. We are watching a new doctrine unfold where a country's entire modern existence is being leveraged against a single policy change. The psychological weight on the negotiators right now must be crushing. Imagine sitting in a room in Muscat, knowing that if you don't sign a piece of paper by tomorrow night, your family back home might be lighting candles for the next decade because the power grid is gone. The president even took a jab at the Iranian leadership's lifestyle, implying that while the common people will suffer in the dark, the elites will be the ones to blame for refusing a fair deal. And then there's the oil. The world is watching the tickers. If the Strait of Hormuz stays closed past that 8:00 p.m. mark, we aren't just looking at a regional war, we're looking at a global energy shockwave. By setting this deadline, the administration has basically told the global markets, either we have a deal by Tuesday night, or the world economy is going on a roller coaster ride. It's the ultimate high-stakes gamble. If Iran blinks, it's a massive win for this ultimatum diplomacy without a single shot being fired. But if they don't, Then Tuesday at 8 p.m. becomes the moment the talking stops and the power plant day begins. We are less than 30 hours away from finding out if the world's most aggressive negotiation tactic actually works, or if it ignites a fire that no one can put out. What makes this specific moment so surreal is the silence coming from the other side. Usually when a deadline like this is dropped, you see a flurry of counter-threats or grandstanding speeches. But right now, it's eerily quiet. It feels like the weight of Tuesday at 8 p.m. has finally settled in. The administration has made it clear that they aren't looking for a compromise anymore. They're looking for a total capitulation. I've been looking into the logistics of what an infrastructure blackout actually looks like, and it's terrifying. It's not just about turning off the lights. It's about the water pumps stopping, the hospitals switching to limited generators, and the entire supply chain freezing in place. By naming this Power Plant Day, the U.S. has turned a military operation into a psychological ghost story. They've given the Iranian people a vision of their own future, and it's a future where the 21st century just ends. Even the skeptics in D.C. are starting to realize that this isn't a bluff. You don't rescue a downed pilot and then issue a 24-hour ultimatum unless you are prepared to follow through. The president has tied his entire reputation to this clock. If 8:01 p.m. comes and goes with no action and no deal, his strongman image takes a hit, but he doesn't seem worried. In fact, he sounds like a man who knows something we don't. Perhaps that the pressure is already working behind closed doors. We are entering the final countdown. Every minute that passes is a minute where the chance for a peaceful resolution shrinks. The world is glued to their feeds, waiting for that one post, that one headline, or that one flash in the night sky that tells us which way the coin landed. The truth is, we are watching a global reset in real time. This isn't just about a trade route or a single deadline anymore. It's about a new world order where the final warning actually means something. The president has made it clear that the era of endless negotiations is over. By pinpointing Tuesday at 8 p.m., he's created a digital D-Day. Everyone from the highest-ranking general to the person checking their phone in a cafe knows exactly when the story reaches its climax. What fascinates me most is the immunity offer he mentioned. He's essentially telling the Iranian negotiators that they can save themselves and their country if they just walk away from the brink. It's a classic move, offering an exit ramp right as the cliff edge comes into view. He's betting that when faced with a total destruction of their bridges and power plants, the people with their hands on the levers will choose survival over pride. But as the sun sets and we head into these final hours, the tension is thick enough to cut with a knife. The military assets are positioned, the diplomatic cables have been sent, and the pilot is back on home soil. There are no more excuses left. This is the moment where the rhetoric meets the reality. We're all waiting to see if that Tuesday night deadline is the start of a new peace, or the beginning of a blackout that will be felt around the globe. One thing is certain, after 8 p.m. tomorrow, the world will not look the same as it does right now. There's a specific kind of chill that sets in when you realize that diplomacy has been replaced by a countdown timer. As I sit here looking at the maps of the strike zones, the bridges, the grids, the hubs, it hits me that we've moved past the point of political posturing. The president isn't talking about if anymore. He's talking about when. He even told reporters that he's not looking for a war, but he's perfectly fine with a correction. Think about that word, correction. It's cold. It's calculated. It suggests that if the strait isn't open by Tuesday at 8 p.m., the U.S. views the destruction of Iran's infrastructure as simply balancing the books. It's a total shift in how America projects power. No more boots on the ground, no more decades-long occupations, just a surgical, high-tech erasure of a nation's ability to compete in the modern world. The rumors coming out of the Middle East suggest that the Iranian public is starting to panic. Bank runs, fuel hoarding, people heading for the countryside. They've heard the power plant day threats, and they know that in a digital age, losing electricity is the same as losing your identity. The pressure isn't just coming from Washington anymore, it's coming from the streets of Tehran. The Iranian leadership is now trapped between a superpower's ultimatum and a terrified population that doesn't want to live in the dark. This is the ultimate test of the art of the deal on a global, lethal scale. Will the 8 p.m. deadline be remembered as the greatest bluff in history, or the moment the lights went out for millions? We are down to the final few pages of this chapter, and the pen is in the president's hand. It's hard to ignore the irony that while we're all staring at our high-def screens, an entire country is facing the prospect of having no screens at all. I've seen a lot of geopolitical standoffs, but this feels different because it's so personal. The president isn't talking to the state. He's talking to the individuals holding the keys. He's essentially saying, I know where your bridges are, I know where your switches are, and I have the coordinates for every single one. The psychological toll of this Tuesday 8 p.m. deadline is becoming the story itself. By extending it, he didn't give them extra time, he gave them extra time to worry. Every hour that passes is another hour for a general to look at his family and wonder if the lights will come on tomorrow night. It's a masterclass in breaking an opponent's will without firing a single shot. And let's look at the timing one more. Time, Tuesday night. It's the dead of night in the Middle East. If the strikes happen, the first thing people will see isn't the news. It will be the sudden crushing silence of a city losing its pulse. The president mentioned that he doesn't want to do it, but he also said he's ready to do it better than anyone has ever done it before. That kind of language is designed to leave no room for doubt. We are watching the clock bleed out. The diplomats are running out of ink, and the pilots are checking their fuel. This is the final stretch of the most dangerous game of chicken the world has seen in decades. Everything we think we know about international relations is being rewritten right now, 1 hour at a time. What's truly wild is how the administration has turned the entire globe into a jury. By being so public about the Tuesday 8 p.m. deadline, they've made it impossible for Iran to claim they weren't warned. It's a complete reversal of the shadow wars we've seen for the last 20 years. This is loud, it's proud, and it's being broadcast in 4K. I've been tracking the flight paths of refueling tankers and strategic bombers across the region, and the movement is undeniable. Usually these things happen under the cover of darkness with zero fanfare, but this time the show of force is part of the negotiation. The president is essentially letting the world see the sword being sharpened. He's telling the Iranian leadership, I'm giving you until Tuesday night to choose a future. After that, I'm taking the choice away from you. There's a sense of finality in the air that you only feel right before a major historical shift. The administration isn't asking for talks about talks anymore. They want the strait open, they want the threats to stop, and they want it all by 8 p.m. Eastern. It's a brutal binary choice, yes or no, success or power plant day. As we move into these final hours, the question isn't just whether Iran will blink. The question is, if they don't, is the world ready for what happens at 8:01? We are watching the ultimate test of American resolve in a new era. This isn't just about a deadline. It's about the moment the talking stops and the consequences begin. I was just looking at the latest updates, and the atmosphere feels like the final minutes before a storm breaks. There's a specific kind of tension that happens when diplomacy reaches its absolute limit. We've seen the extensions, we've heard the warnings, and we've watched the rescue of our pilot. Now the runway has officially run out. By setting this Tuesday 8 p.m. deadline, the administration has removed all the gray areas. It's no longer about negotiating terms. It's about a total surrender to the reality of the situation. I can't help but think about the sheer speed of this escalation. Usually, these things take months of back and forth, but we've seen the world change in just a few days. The president has been incredibly clear. He's not interested in a participation trophy in the Middle East. He wants a win, or he wants a correction. And while the world watches the clock, you have to wonder what's going through the minds of those in power in Tehran. Do they bet their entire country's infrastructure on the hope that this is a bluff? Or do they realize that the man who just brought his pilot home isn't playing games? The message to the Iranian people has been just as sharp. The administration is essentially saying, your leaders are choosing the dark for you. It's a move designed to spark internal pressure, making the Tuesday deadline a ticking time bomb not just from the outside, but from within. If the power goes out, everyone will know exactly who chose that path. We are standing at the threshold of a massive before and after moment in history. At 8 p.m. Tuesday, the talking ends. One way or another, the strait will be dealt with, and the world will have its answer. The only thing left to do now is watch the clock. There is a strange, heavy stillness that comes just before a definitive no turning back moment. I've noticed that in the last few hours, the usual political noise has faded, replaced by a cold, operational focus. It's as if the administration has finished the talking phase of this crisis and has moved into the checking the clock phase. The president's tone in his latest updates isn't even angry anymore. It's matter of fact. It's the tone of a person who has already made their decision and is simply waiting for the deadline to catch up. I was thinking about the Tuesday 8 p.m. timing again, and it's a stroke of psychological genius. It forces the Iranian leadership to spend an entire day, Tuesday, watching their own people go about their lives, knowing that by nightfall, the very fabric of that life could be shredded. It's a 24-hour countdown where every ticking second is a reminder of what they stand to lose. They aren't just negotiating for a trade route anymore. They are negotiating for their survival as a functioning modern state. And while everyone is focused on the missiles and the bridges, don't overlook the financial markets. Investors are already pricing in the what if. If that 8 p.m. deadline passes without a white flag from Tehran, we aren't just going to see smoke over the Middle East. We're going to see a total transformation of the global economy. This is ultimatum diplomacy, backed by the full weight of a superpower that has decided it has nothing left to lose by being blunt. We are down to the wire. The ships are in position, the targets are locked, and the world is watching a single clock. It's a moment that will be studied in history books. The time when a social media post and a hard deadline changed the rules of war forever. It's the silence that really gets to you. Usually in these moments, there's a frantic scramble for a middle ground, but this time feels different. The administration has effectively burned the bridge behind them. By being so specific about the Tuesday 8 p.m. deadline, they've made it so that any outcome other than a total resolution feels like a failure. It's a zero-sum game now. I've been reflecting on why this particular strategy is being used. It's because the old way of doing things, the summits, the letters, the years of strategic patience, didn't work. The strait stayed closed, the threats continued, and the tension just simmered. This ultimatum diplomacy is designed to boil the water instantly. It's about forcing a decade's worth of decisions into a single 24-hour window. The president's mention of Power Plant Day wasn't just a threat, it was a vision. He's painting a picture of a nation without a heartbeat. If you take away the electricity, you take away the ability to organize, to communicate, and to resist. It's the ultimate checkmate move. He's betting that the Iranian leadership loves their power more than they hate their enemies. As the clock ticks toward that Tuesday night finale, the world is holding its breath. We aren't just waiting for a news update, we're waiting to see if the world's last remaining superpower is going to fundamentally change how nations interact. If the lights stay on and the ships move, it's a victory for the bold. If they don't, well, we're about to see what happens when the most powerful military on earth decides it's done talking. In the end, this isn't just about a time on a clock. It's about the moment of truth. We've watched the strategy unfold, from the rescue of our pilot to the terrifying promise of Power Plant Day. The president has drawn a line in the sand that is visible from space, and for the first time in a long time, there is no ambiguity. Tuesday at 8 p.m. isn't just a deadline for Iran. It's a deadline for the old way of doing business on the world stage. As I look at the final hours ticking away, I realize we are witnessing a high-stakes gamble that will define the next decade. If the ships begin to move and the strait opens, it will be the greatest diplomatic victory achieved without firing a single shot. But if that 8 p.m. mark passes in silence, we are heading into a darkness that none of us are truly prepared for. The administration has made its move. The military is in position, the world is watching. Now it all comes down to whether the leadership in Tehran values their pride more than their future. I'll be right here, watching the feed and tracking every update as we hit that 0 hour. One thing is for sure, by Wednesday morning, we'll be living in a very different world. Make sure you stay tuned, because whatever happens at 8:01 p.m., you're going to want to see what comes next. Don't forget to hit that notification bell, because this story is far from over. I'm keeping my eyes on the clock, and you should too.